I'm Jeff Cornwall, and this is the Entrepreneurial Mind. Today my guest is Dan Stephenson with Gourmet Mac and Cheese. We'll be back to talk with Dan after this.
Talkapolis programming is sponsored in part by the Center for Advanced Dentistry, now serving the greater Nashville area.
Well, welcome.
Thanks, Professor Cornwall. I really enjoyed getting the opportunity to meet with you today.
Yeah, so as I understand your story, you are trained in corporate finance at Vanderbilt. You worked in corporate America, and then started selling gourmet mac and cheese at farmers markets. Is that correct?
Yeah, here in town. While I was still working full time in corporate finance, I always had a passion for cooking and wanted to find an outlet for that passion. And I had a friend that had started a salsa business, so he started in farmers markets and suggested it's a great place to share your passion with the world. And we started cooking in commercial kitchens and taking it to the farmers markets on weekends.
But you're a Vandy grad in corporate finance in corporate America, in economics.
And worked for a guy named Art Laffer, economist Art Laffer.
Yep.
And then went to Ingram.
I've had the pleasure of meeting Art before.
Yeah. Quite the mentor.
Indeed. And so did anybody ever raise their eyebrow about what in the world are you doing selling noodles at farmers markets?
Yeah, I think there were a few raised eyebrows. Thought it was a cute hobby, perhaps, and one of the things that
he'll grow out of it, though.
What's
he'll grow out of it.
Yeah, it's just
he'll get this out of his system.
It's a phase.
Yeah.
But for me, connecting with people in a different form or fashion than I would in the corporate world was just very rewarding. And so it didn't feel like work, and so that's why I never.
So you truly bootstrapped this. I mean, you kept your job till the very last minute, and you've been bootstrapping ever since. Is that correct?
Correct. I ran parallel Dan's Gourmet, the start in the farmers market, for 2.5 years while I was still working in corporate finance.
So you had basically a little restaurant stand in the farmers market.
A little stall that we'd sell at, and then we expanded into multiple farmers markets. And so the first batch we ever made, we didn't know where we were going to put it, so we put it in the freezer, and we found out that people love the convenience of being able to pull it out. And so we started selling them in the farmers markets in the freezer, and we said, they come frozen, and they're like, well, what are they called? And we're like, they're called Mac Packs. And so all these little things that happened in the first 6 months of the business, a lot of them have actually stayed.
And a lot of them were kind of accidents that you discovered were actually the right way to go.
Yeah, and so you learn to perfect the accident.
Right.
Really. So, you learn how to cook the noodle and cheese sauce.
That's an interesting lesson that I think a lot of people don't understand, is that your customers will really help tell you what they truly want. I think too often we go into this with a rigid plan in mind, and we're going to go in there and we're going to show the world what they need. It sounds like you kind of went and let them help you discover what they needed.
Yeah, I didn't want to pretend to know what these customers wanted. I was sharing my passion, and so I took their feedback, what they liked about it, what they didn't. And when I realized I had something more than a cute hobby, which was pretty quickly because of the people coming back week after week, I considered it beta testing. So that first 1.5 years was the best form of beta testing, because you got to see how people spend their hard-earned money on a low-cost, actually profitable scenario.
Can you think of one example, maybe one instance where you thought, wow, maybe I will be quitting my job sometime soon?
There was one of my customers said, I have to share this with my sister. She's a huge mac and cheese fan. She lives in Phoenix. How am I going to get it to her? And we hadn't gotten to the point of shipping around the country yet, so I didn't have any solution. She's like, I've got it figured out. I'm taking some to my sister. I'm like, okay, sounds great. She comes back to me 2 weeks later, And she said, Dan, you'll never believe what happened. I'm like, okay, what happened?
Did it melt?
Yeah. I'm like, did we end up with an epic failure of our containers of mac and cheese? And we were selling them in those 7-inch rounds. I was printing my own labels.
Right.
And really, the only reason they were buying it was for the mac and cheese itself. She said she was going through airport security, and she had it on dry ice in a cooler. And the TSA agent pulled her over and said, ma'am, I'm going to have to inspect your cooler. She said, no, you can't take, this is for my sister, and was really upset because she thought she was going to lose her mac and cheese.
Right.
So this TSA agent takes her aside, pulls back the top, and said, ma'am, is this Dan's Gourmet mac and cheese? And she's like, yes, have you had it? He's like, I've had it at the farmer's market. Closes the lid and sends her on her way. And she got it to her sister in Phoenix, who loved the product.
That was one of those moments.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've bootstrapped in terms of your customer discovery and find out what they really wanted and how they wanted it. How have you continued to be a bootstrapper as this company's grown? Because you're in how many stores now? 1,200?
1,200 grocery stores in 34 states. So.
And you still have done this all on your own?
Yeah. So the first bit was when I was working corporate finance. Every dollar that I earned in that job was going back into it, and everything I made from the company was going back into the business. And I think that young companies are so cash hungry that if you go into it expecting to pull a salary, you're going to be severely disappointed or just way too cash strapped.
Right. So give us a little update where the company is now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm still envisioning you sweating over cooking mac and cheese in the farmer's market, and now you're in 1,200 stores. Kind of talk about that evolution and where you are now, what the company looks like.
Yeah, we kind of wanted to focus on what we do best, and what I do best is, one, create different varieties of mac and cheese, so the creation, the uniqueness, and two, sell. I love to sell. I love to share the story. I love to be the one in front of the food buyers. And so, you know, it went from farmers market presenting to food buyers for, you know, grocery store chains.
And where'd you get your first break there?
At the Fancy Food Show in New York City. And I still didn't have any packaging or any outside manufacturing. But
so it's still your own label that you're slapping on these things?
Slapping on my own label. I didn't put the labels out there, but I had the news articles that had been written on me and just sampled it. And I just wanted to put it in front of distributors, buyers, brokers, and people loved it. They said, how does it come? How can we get this? And one chain, a small chain in Texas called Central Market, stuck with it and wanted to bring the product to market, and that's what
it was probably a blessing. It was a small chain, because that's a bigger step than one realizes.
Yeah,
because you have a lot to get done between your slap on the label and now being in a grocery store.
So the retail challenges, even at the Whole Food local level, or the you know, these small chains, the manufacturing process grows up a lot, and I knew that. I had to make a choice whether I was going to be a brand or a manufacturer. And a lot of food brands or other brands try to be both, but what I wanted to be was a brand. I wanted it to be living, breathing, exciting, and I wanted to grow that. I strategically chose to outsource my manufacturing of my recipes.
Which kept your costs down, which allowed you to bootstrap.
Down. Yeah, and didn't have to invest capital into machinery that ultimately you'd have to replace or continue to buy the next piece of machinery.
Sure.
So that I outsourced along with the design to get to a packaging, and I worked with the Anderson Design Group here in town to really put packaging out that carried the gourmet nature of the brand and got people excited, because I wasn't there in the farmers like I was in the farmers market to say, here, try a bite, this is my creation. Right.
And so how big of a company are you now? Since you're outsourcing so much, I'm assuming you're still a pretty tight, lean operation?
Yeah, I'm actually our only full-time employee still to this day. And you know, we've just got into Kroger for their 100 largest stores starting in about 6 weeks.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And
so people to be able to get it here in Nashville at Kroger?
Yep. So I think the 11 largest Krogers in the Nashville region, plus you know, 90 others scattered around the eastern United States.
And so your corporate offices are where?
Here in Nashville, Tennessee.
In your kitchen?
Technically my condo, yeah. But we just signed our first office space here in Wedgwood.
At some point, you got to take that.
If at some point you do.
What an awesome bootstrapping story, and let's get you back sometime soon and hear how you guys are progressing.
Definitely. Thank you so
very much. Yep.